The story will be told from the perspective of the main female character.
My sister's laugh cut through all the noise at the table before she even said a word. "You don't mind watching them, right?" she asked, already turning back to her wine glass. The twins jumped right into my lap. One grabbed a handful of my hair, the other spilled juice all over my sleeve. The table erupted with laughter like it was some kind of performance. Nobody looked at me, not when I got up to grab a towel, not when I tried wiping a stain that wasn't even mine. That night, I didn't shout or cry. I started packing instead. They thought I'd still go on the family trip. They had no idea I'd already booked my own ticket out. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me, where are you listening from? Just so I know someone out there understands. And when you hear the whole story, ask yourself, what would you have done if you were me? I used to think the quiet in our house meant peace. It didn't. It meant someone else was always the center of attention. Every wall was covered in pictures of my sister, her first steps, her graduation, her wedding. My corner of the hallway, bare. When her old clothes didn't fit me, Mom called it being practical. When her trophies collected dust, Dad said it was just to save space. I learned early that my name never rang as loudly as hers. When I was 16, I won a writing contest. The official envelope came in the mail, and I set it on the kitchen counter while Mom flipped pancakes. "That's nice, honey," she said, eyes on the stove. Then the phone rang. My sister was calling about her new job offer. By the time Mom hung up, my envelope had disappeared under the grocery list. In college, I waited tables after classes. Most weekends, my phone lit up with one name, hers. "Can you watch the twins? Just a few hours." Those few hours always stretched into nights. Their toys were all over my floor, their cereal bowls stacked in the sink. When I said I had exams, she just sighed. "You're so lucky to have free time." Dad's voice echoed one night when I asked about help with tuition. "We're still paying off the wedding," he said, not even looking up from his paper. The page trembled a little as he turned it. I realized he knew how unfair it sounded. He just didn't care enough to stop reading. It wasn't a single big betrayal. It was thousands of tiny ones. Every hand-me-down, every favor, every quiet dismissal, a whole life of being the easy choice. I used to think staying quiet kept the peace. But peace built on silence isn't peace at all. It's a debt. And eventually, someone comes to collect. It was supposed to be my birthday dinner, but the cake already had her kids' names on it. "We thought it'd be fun to celebrate everyone together," Mom said, like that made sense. She explained why my candles were shaped like cartoon animals. The twins clapped. Everyone laughed. After dessert, Mom slid an envelope across the table. "We have a surprise," she said. "A family trip next week. We booked everything." Dad nodded, looking proud. "You'll love it, Emily. You'll help with the boys so Lori can finally relax." The room tilted for a second. I heard the hum of the fridge, the scrape of a fork on a plate. Then my own voice, flat and calm. "I'm not going." Silence. Laura's smile froze. "What do you mean you're not going?" "I mean exactly that," I said. Mom's tone sharpened. "Don't make a scene." I set my fork down. The metal rang softly against the plate. "I'm not making a scene. I'm just saying no." Dad cleared his throat, muttering something about gratitude. Laura whispered, "You're unbelievable." I pushed my chair back slowly, legs scraping the tile. "You've had my weekends, my nights, my patience. You can have the trip too, but without me." Their voices tangled behind me as I walked out. Questions, guilt, frustration, all piled on top of each other. The door closed behind me, muffling it all. For the first time, the quiet didn't feel like punishment. It felt like space. That night, I opened my laptop. Flights, hotels, a blank search bar blinking back at me. My fingers hovered for a moment, then typed one word elsewhere. I didn't slam any doors. I didn't need to. The quiet itself was enough. I sat at my desk, one small lamp casting a circle of light, soft but steady. My laptop hummed as I opened a new spreadsheet. Payments, rent, flights. Each word a column, each cell a step out. I scrolled through airline sites, comparing numbers like someone memorizing an escape route. The cursor blinked over the word confirm. I pressed it. A new flight, a new destination, same weekend as theirs. Every sound in the house felt sharper after that. The washing machine droning, Dad's TV too loud, Mom's phone calls full of my sister's laughter. I'd hear her say, "Emily will help," and I pictured my name folded into every plan like a napkin nobody asked for. I stopped answering calls. I stopped volunteering for anything. During lunch breaks at work, I printed every receipt and booking confirmation I made, folded them neatly, and slid them into a clear sleeve in my folder. There was something sacred about that order. Numbers, dates, timestamps, each one proof that my life finally had structure outside of them. A week before the trip, I went to buy a suitcase. The clerk asked if it was for business or pleasure. "Neither," I said. "Freedom," she laughed, not knowing I meant it literally. The suitcase was gray, hard-shelled, rolling silently. At home, I laid it open on the bed and started packing. White shirts, folded jeans, my notebook, the silver water bottle I always carry. I zipped it halfway, leaving space for something that didn't fit yet, the feeling of actually leaving for real. That night, Mom knocked on my door. "Remember to bring sunscreen," she said, mistaking my closed laptop for agreement. I nodded once, watching her reflection in the screen. Her words lingered in the air long after she left. The next day, Laura texted, "Can you pick up extra snacks for the twins?" I stared at the message until it disappeared. Then I deleted the thread. No reply. I started waking up earlier, walking around the block before work. The air before sunrise felt untouched, new. I practiced silence there, feeling its weight in my lungs. I didn't talk to anyone anymore. In the evenings, I cleared my emails, unsubscribed from everything with their names on it. I organized my bank accounts, stopped every auto-pay tied to shared bills. My life shrank down to essentials. What I earned, what I kept, what I chose. Nina from work noticed. "You've been quiet," she said over coffee. "Maybe I finally ran out of explanations," I replied. She didn't ask more, and I was grateful. 2 nights before their flight, I stood in front of the hallway mirror, framed by the family photos Mom loved. Laura's wedding smile stared back at me. My own reflection looked foreign, calmer, somehow older. I picked up the frame and flipped it face down. The soft thud against the table sounded final. Later that night, I wrote a single text draft and saved it. "I'm going on my own vacation. Enjoy yours." I didn't send it yet. Just seeing it in my outbox was enough to slow my pulse. The last night at home was buzzing with excitement. Suitcases stacked near the door, the twins running around the hallway in matching hats. Mom's voice carried from the kitchen, going over checklists like a conductor with an orchestra. I sat in my room, earbuds in, pretending to watch a movie. My suitcase was already tucked in the trunk of my car. At midnight, I checked the flight one last time. I took a slow, deep breath, turned off the lamp, and let the darkness settle around me. My phone lit up with a message from Laura. "Can't wait for our trip." I powered it down without replying. That night, I slept deeper than I had in years. Morning came quietly. The smell of coffee drifted from the kitchen, the house alive with movement. I moved quietly too, walking past their open suitcases, past Mom calling for sunscreen again. I said only, "I'll meet you there." They smiled, distracted, thinking I meant it. The drive to the airport was a blur. Sunrise, highway signs. I parked at a different terminal, checked my bag, and watched families pass by, carrying the same exhaustion I had carried for years. At my gate, I sat near the window watching planes lift off like little secrets breaking free. When my boarding group was called, I pulled out my phone, scrolled to the saved draft, and hit send. "I'm going on my own vacation. Enjoy yours." Then I powered it off and tucked it into my bag. No one saw me leave. The airport hum was full of voices, wheels, and gates calling numbers that didn't mean anything to me. My family was somewhere else on the terminal side, juggling tickets, backpacks, and the twins. I pictured it without needing to see it. Mom fussing, Laura half scolding Dad, trying to sound patient. They'd think I was still parking the car or maybe grabbing coffee. For once, I liked that they weren't looking for me. I walked to my gate, showed my boarding pass, and stepped onto a plane heading the opposite direction. The air smelled like metal and recycled air. When the seatbelt sign lit up, I closed my eyes. The plane lifted, soft and certain, leaving Riverton behind, like a habit I'd finally outgrown. Hours later, I turned my phone back on. Dozens of missed calls, then more texts, stacking like dominoes. Where are you? Gate C3. We're boarding, Emily. Your sister's crying. This is selfish. Answer your phone right now. By the time the plane touched down, there were hundreds of messages. The newest one read, "You ruined our vacation." I didn't open any of them. I moved slowly through the line toward baggage claim, the carousel turning, all the noise blending into white sound. My gray suitcase slid toward me like a punctuation mark. I grabbed it, the weight grounding me. Outside, the heat hit thick, salty, alive. The island air smelled of sunscreen and seaweed. I checked into the hotel, signed my name, and handed over the receipt like proof of something private. The clerk smiled. "Welcome," he said. I nodded, too tired to respond. My room, I put the suitcase by the wall and sat on the edge of the bed. My phone buzzed again, Mom, Laura, Dad, all flooding the screen. For a moment, guilt pulsed sharp and quick, then flattened like a wave collapsing back into the sea. I turned my phone over face down and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere, my family was probably arguing in an airport lounge, the twins crying, Laura fuming. I pictured Mom's voice breaking when she realized I wasn't on the next flight either. They'd call it betrayal. I called it balance. The next morning, I walked to the shoreline before sunrise. The sky was pale orange, the water breathing in slow rhythm. I dug my toes into the wet sand, letting the foam reach my ankles. The silence here was different, clean, deliberate. When I finally checked my phone, the battery was nearly dead. Notifications blurred together, missed calls, voicemails, accusations. "You're ungrateful. You embarrassed us. We needed you." I scrolled once, then held down the thread until it trembled. Delete all. One quiet tap, the only reply I ever gave them. I spent the rest of the morning wandering through the market near the pier. Fishermen shouted prices, kids chased birds. Nobody knew my name here, and for the first time that anonymity felt like safety. I bought a small seashell pendant from a vendor. Its surface was smooth, cold, perfect in its imperfection. Holding it up to the light, I thought of the juice spilling across the table back home, color bleeding into white, and how, finally, I could just let it dry. That evening, I opened my notebook and wrote one line. Freedom doesn't arrive with fanfare. It arrives when no one is watching you leave. Then I closed the book, leaving it on the bedside table next to the key card. Outside, the wind shifted, carrying faint laughter from somewhere down the beach. For a split second, it sounded like hers, my sister. But it was. It was just the world moving on like it always does. Morning light spilled through the thin curtains, soft and pale. The tide whispered against the shore outside my window, steady and unbothered. I brewed coffee in the small hotel pot. The smell was sharp and grounding. My phone sat face down on the nightstand, quiet for once. I didn't reach for it. I took my cup out to the balcony. Below, the beach stretched empty, except for a few early risers dragging chairs into the sand. No twins, no voices calling my name, just space wide enough to breathe in. I hadn't realized how loud my life had been until it went still. I opened my notebook again. The line from the night before stared back at me. Freedom doesn't arrive with fanfare. Beneath it, I wrote another. It stays when you stop apologizing for wanting it. The pen bled slightly on the page, sinking into the fibers. It felt permanent, like a promise. Later, I walked along the waterline, letting the surf erase my footprints as I went. I thought about every version of myself that had stayed quiet at the kitchen table, at the edge of every family photo. I used to think silence meant safety. Now I understood it could be armor, too. By afternoon, I packed my bag. The suitcase closed with a single click, smooth, final. I left the room key on the desk with a note for housekeeping. Thank you. No return address, no name. The flight home was calm. No calls waited when I turned my phone on. Maybe they'd stopped trying. Maybe they finally believed me. Back in Riverton, I didn't drive to the old house. I went straight to my apartment. The light there was clean, white, unfiltered. I unpacked slowly, folded clothes, placed the seashell pendant on my desk. It glowed faintly in the afternoon sun, the same color as the foam that had touched my feet that morning. The kettle hissed on the stove. Steam rose thin and silent. I poured the water, watched it swirl, then exhaled. No noise, no apologies, just air filling a space that finally belonged to me. The next morning, I woke before sunrise. The city was still, the air faintly cool against the windows. I sat at my desk, the one with no framed photos, no noise, no ghosts. My phone lay beside the seashell, dark and still. For once, no one expected anything from me. That emptiness felt clean. I made tea, opened the window, and listened. No shouting, no footsteps, only wind. For years, I had mistaken duty for love and silence for peace. But real peace doesn't ask for permission. It just waits for you to notice it. I looked around my small apartment. The stack of books, the folded blanket, the light spilling across the floor. It wasn't much, but every inch of it was mine. Maybe one day they'll tell the story differently, how I walked away or ruined the trip. Let them. The truth is simpler. I just stopped showing up to places where I was never seen. The kettle whistled. I smiled, slow and quiet. The silence that followed wasn't lonely. It was earned. If you've ever had to leave to find peace, tell me, where did you go? And did it finally feel like freedom?